the question I want to ask, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, there is controversy. We can all agree that. There's some people who don't agree with it, and they've got research to suggest why. These people who are saying anti-COVID things, they're being deplatformed. Why?
Because I got warned. I was going to get I almost got deplatformed over this, and YouTube sent me a notification, and they said that if I put anything more up that went against the view of the WHO, basically I'd be wiped out.
So why not get in a free democratic, well, whatever that means. All right, let's argue it, and let's have it out, and let them decide. Or is that because people don't have they're not savvy enough to make their own line up? So we as government, or whoever is the ruling elite of the world, we need to control people by telling them what they can and can't do.
All right, so anyone can just go online and say anything they want. They've got that freedom of speech.
Yeah.
But YouTube is a platform that's got its own rules that it devises in accordance with the needs of its advertisers. So we make a choice to go on YouTube and play by the rules. That's the way I look at it. Some people say YouTube's messed up because they won't allow us to say these things, but the things you want to say, you can just go and say them anywhere else on YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, on the internet. Anyway, if you want to say those things, there's somewhere you can post them to.
I think my thing is, right, there's such unjust, immoral, socially irrevocably terrible laws in this world which are legal. Legality doesn't equal morality.
Definitely not. And it's relative.
Let's go back to Hitler, Nazi Germany. It's all right to put gas Jews and throw them in ovens. That's all right because it's legal.
Laws change over time to suit the morals of whatever the people are thinking at that point in time.
But there's got to be people at different stages like, this isn't right. Like the Portuguese. They did that rule with the law with the drugs, so they have less drugs.
Well, yeah, exactly. And
so
the public's behind that. And there's the people in America voting for legalization, decriminalization of weed. That's not the government. That's the people at the state level reversing the laws. U.S. federal government has maintained weed as a Schedule 1 substance, more harmful than cocaine with no medicinal value whatsoever, because that's where the corporations want it to be.
I guess we won't talk about hydroxychloroquine then. Do you know that one? That was a deplatform.
Let's not go there if it's a deplatform.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, same.
But we could talk about elite deviance and moral relativism, because if you go back to ancient Greece, paedophilia with boys was a rite of passage.
1,000,000%.
And Epstein tried to use that as a defense to what he'd done. He said,
yeah, the Spartans, you as an 8-year-old Spartan, you'd be getting buggered senseless until you were of age and you did the buggering.
And now...
And that's fine.
And your
mother would send you off. Go on.
And now you've got paedophile priests getting a pass because they've got fancy lawyers and the sentences are nowhere near hard enough. When I went to the Hemp Museum in Holland, and on the wall there, they've got people in America still serving 25 years to life for weed possession under 3 strikes laws, which cost the taxpayers $50,000 a year times 25, 1.25 million, because someone had some weed.
Yeah. You're bringing to my points. One of the things that I have severely suffered, and I can't, for legal reasons, go into it.
Okay.
But I can tell you, because of the fact of I was so distraught, and I used every single penny I have, and then had money I didn't have to in the family court system.
What a nightmare.
I was actually considered selling a kidney. That's how distraught. I had a lawyer pull out and I'm sure I can say this much. I had a lawyer pull out, and this is the level of desperation, that when someone is so desperate in a corrupt system, they will do whatever they can. You'll lose everything. And I see this sort of thing happening time and time again. People cash in their pensions, they put their rehab mortgage the house. so they can fund the family courts, And to me, it's a complete and utter racket between Kafkas, CMS, that's Child Maintenance Service, the family courts, and there's these domestic abuse charities. These things go on. There are shitty, horrible people who commit horrible crimes, and those people should be punished by not seeing their children if they're going to be violent. But statistically, irrevocably, you can't deny, because of the facts, there is not an equality of law here. And that's one of the major things in law that we need, equality. How can there be one rule for one and one rule for another? Men don't get... the statistics in terms of abuse of men and women, violence, it's about roughly 60-40 in favour of women. 60% of women get abused, 40% of men get abused. So it's pretty even. I'm sure it's probably actually more. I don't have, because men don't complain. I mean, if we
Can anyone in here check that statistic on the phone?
Yeah. Around that. I think it might be 35, 36, that round, it changes. But what we're told continually is by a system which has been run by women, feminist movement, is that all absent parents are deadbeat dads. And it's this why I'm passionate to try and stop this terrible atrocity in society, because that is continually making another generation of children grow up. When a child grows up without a parent, generally a father, 9 times out of 10, is causing such abhorrent abuse in society. Have you got it?
Yeah, so in 2019, 7 in 100 women, 4 in 100 men reported abuse, domestic abuse.
Right. Yeah. So, and what I've discovered, and evidentially backed, it is a racket. I have evidence, and this is destroying people, and I have I know people who've committed suicide. I have a friend who committed suicide. I've lost 3 people. One of those was involved in child arrangements, and let's look at the CMS without going too big. It's Child Maintenance Service. This is making a fundamental. It's damaging our society so badly. It's a national security problem. When you've got soldiers who are more scared of CMS than the Taliban, when you've got fire brigade people involved in the Grenfell, high up, who have been signed off duty to go and look after all of those families and everything, because they can't focus because of the CMS are doing, and it's all going to court. Everything. I'm trying to not mention names. That's not helping society. We need our services to be operating at full capacity, and our soldiers. I mean, that's not right. And this isn't one case. This is hundreds and hundreds of cases, continually. So imagine our soldiers going off, and they're more worried because the CMS are. Look, and what we're trying to say is there are fathers who don't pay, but all these fathers are paying, and they can't afford to pay. They can't afford to live. They don't know where they're going to get the money. They're getting charged extra money. And what we've discovered, it's a big industry, a corrupt industry, which needs to change.
All those expert witnesses they bring in and everything, the family court, get paid bank. And I've interviewed multiple victims of the family court on this channel. And the same cast of characters just pops up at all these hearings. And it's like the taxpayers' money is a feeding trough. And they've got to have reasons to get the schnauts into the feeding trough and just siphon all that money out. And any crisis, like what's going on around the world now, is the reason for the pharmaceutical companies to get the schnozzes in there. And Any kind of human suffering, people with addiction issues, let's just put them in prisons and warehouse them as commodities. And more than half of my friends in prison were ex-soldiers, come back from wars, traumatised, didn't get any help, ended up in prison because street medicating on drugs. People who go to the family court, you are just a commodity. All these professionals, expert witnesses come in and they're making millions off the back of it, of people's suffering.
I don't have all the statistics, but I wholeheartedly agree. It's horrendous. Let's look at something which is slowly starting to get some traction, although it's been here forever. Parental alienation is a direct hate crime and is direct child abuse. Domestic physical and psychological abuse. Why are we not trying this in the criminal courts? This is crazy.
Can you tell people what that means, parental alienation?
Parental alienation is when the parent who has major custody, sole custody, badmouths the other parent. And it might not just be the parent, it might be the family, the grandparents, and they're indoctrinating the child to think, let's say daddy in this case, which generally is the case. You don't need daddy, he's not good. But ultimately what they don't understand is that child, psychology says, is half of, psychologists say that the child doesn't see it like that. The child sees that half of them is bad. And it causes such abhorrent pains in the child. And it destroys not only the father and the paternal grandparents, all of that, it destroys the child. And the child goes up with all sorts of statistically proven challenges. Highly sexual, promiscuous, experimenting with drugs, crazy, looking for love, looking for that missing link. And it's a thing in society which is continually allowed to go on. And it's like I said, when you've got soldiers who are committing suicide and fire staff who can't operate, or ambulance drivers who are having problems with doctors, this isn't right. This is terrible for society. It's extreme abuse. It needs to stop. Yeah, and which is why I have formed the Bob Reid Foundation after my father. And again, I can't go into that entirely, but all I can tell you was a very loving man who loved children, lots of grandkids, died broken, really upset, and I can't tell you why. And all he did was a good guy. Now, in his number one attribute was kindness. That's when on his deathbed, I said, "What was one thing? Just be kind." We're fighting, we're lobbying government for transparency because the courts are completely cut off from you don't know what's going on. So bad decisions are rife. The transparency would stop that, because then people are going to be accountable.
Because it's completely secret, isn't it? The family court.
Completely. Understandably, if there's safeguarding issues, then obviously we protect the child. We're not stupid, we get that. There's not every case is going to be the same. Some cases might need to be cordoned off, so you can't see, you don't know what's going on. But it should start off as transparent. The burden of proof. What does that mean? In the criminal courts, if you tell a lie, you can go to prison for that. If you don't, not in the criminal courts, and these are destroying lies. How often are the absent parent, which is a horrible word, being called a paedophile? It's thrown around, and domestic abuse. Domestic abuse is used continually because it instantly gives it gives legal aid to the other parent, so they can. And what happens then is, listen, it's just, I'm getting a bit funny here. It's hurting me. Sorry. Law of equality. Again, I mentioned that earlier on. It needs to be equal. It should be 50-50. In Israel, for instance, they seem to have it right. It's instantly, when a family split up, there's 50-50 custody. But they're doing something right. They don't have the problems that we have. Sure, they have problems, but not the same. Yeah. So the burden of proof. Yeah, but going back to that, I know people who have had the most horrific lies told about them. They've destroyed their families. And there's no repercussions when the lies have been proven to be lies. That's how that's actually destroyed. What does that do to the child? Yeah. So I formed the Bob Reid Foundation. Let's be a bit more positive now. This is one thing I'm very passionate about. I once a soldier, wanted to be a tough guy. This is my way of being Batman or Edward Woodward. I get to do something good. For evil to exist, a good man does nothing. So I'm doing my bit, doing the best I can to change these horrendous laws and to wake the bloody world up in the best way we can. I'm not anti-women by any means. And it's funny, we've got so many women on the Bob Reid Foundation, which is, I wish I had a foundation like this when I started out years and years ago on this journey. Then I wouldn't have been in such a dire situation that I've become in. But I see hope, and if I can help other people, then that helps me.
We just got to raise awareness of these issues, and then there becomes that tipping point in the public where the demands are made and changes are effected. And it's great that you are bringing attention to the family court because it is so secretive. I had no idea about it until I interviewed these other people.
Yeah.
And they just completely woke me up to the horrors. So if people watching this, Sharon Gale, what she went through with the family court is horrendous.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of the other guests as well that you could check out. I'm also going to put the link to the Bob Reid Foundation in the description box below the video so people can check that out.
If you need
as well.
help, if you're going through trouble, contact us and we'll see what we can do. We've got a lot of advice, a lot of help, a lot of experience on there. Every level as well, from Mackenzie friends to lawyers to filling in the right forms. If you don't know where to start, there's just contact me, and you can contact me on you'll put the link on www.thebobreidfoundation.com.
It's right there below this video.
Yeah.